So this is a townhouse down in Brandywine, new construction, Ryan Homes. Pretty straightforward, brick veneer front, slab on grade, rear garage, townhouse, end unit townhouse. I told them that one of the things that I tell people with short gutters like this, where the valleys discharge into the gutters and the gutter is 6 inches long, very likely that gutter is going to overflow in a heavy rain. There's not much that can be done about it. There's no codes that dictate gutter design. There's no hard, fast rules about that that builders have to follow. So you end up with weird designs where it's just not very functional, but there's not really anything wrong with it. I take reference shots. Here's a reference shot of the side and minor stuff, some tape on the window. Yeah, I'm pretty thorough. I didn't like this.
I'm sorry, there were no weep holes over those windows that I see.
They're right here in the brick here. See?
Okay.
Just barely.
Got it.
And this is a really rough brick. So the mortar application, the pointing, I guess, it's kind of sloppy, but it kind of goes with the look. There can be gaps in the mortar that suck water into this wall. So those weep holes, the flashing, the lentils, all that stuff, it's really important that that system behind the veneer works because it's not waterproof for sure. I didn't like this discharge. It is a slab on grade, so I talked about how water's not going to go diving into your basement, but you don't want water running under your slab. That's the support soils, and the water is going to move those soil. So put the leader on there. This is all the builders have to do, though. I mean, they should line that up a little better, but that's a kick or something. So I tell them to get leaders on all the gutters. I was concerned about this vent being a dryer vent, but it wasn't. Now I'm concerned that this is the fresh air intake with the baffle on it, which isn't cool.
I've only seen those bird exclusion grates on dryer vents, so.
The dryer vent was on the second floor, and I think it vented out the other side of the building. So this could have been, there was a powder room right there. So that could have been the powder room too. I don't think it was I think that's the powder room. Here's the brick ledge. There's a word for that. Row lock, soldier course, something like that. The top row of brick. And this is on the side of the house, right down here. Can you guys see my mouse? No? Well, right down by the air conditioner there. This should be a bed jointed ceiling under that, running the whole length. And then I talk about how 99% of the damage comes through 1% of the wall. You can have a perfect brick installation, get that bed joint in there, a perfect vinyl installation, and your trim guy comes along, or your window guy or something like that comes along, and that little gap right there on the window will rot out that whole wall. Now, hopefully it's all flashed and everything's good, but that's a great example of how that 99.1% example. The AC penetration needs to be sealed. Data for the air conditioner is brand new. Here's a reference shot of the back. Here's the street and the driveway or base coats. I mentioned that the surface coat of the driveway should be done soon, but the base coat for the road probably won't be installed until all of the construction is completed. I didn't like this deck because it's in Brandywine, it's PG County, and it's not freestanding. And I'm confused how Ryan is getting away with an entire development being installed like this. So I'm not sure what I'm going to say in the report. Something about verify that all inspections have been completed or something like that. But I have a feeling this is passed. If anybody has any information about PG County changing their rules about freestanding decks, let me know. There's a little high nail on the roof up there. Most new construction, I find high nails, and I mentioned that it should be done. In all likelihood, the builder has a plan about the roofers going back over those and beating down the high nails, you know, in a month or something.
Sean, there's
usually
a question from one of our members, and they asked what's wrong with the deck. And PG County has required, I guess, freestanding decks for more than a decade now.
Since like 87 or something. They were one of the first counties, jurisdictions in the whole country to require freestanding decks. So if you're doing an inspection in Prince George's County, Maryland, and the deck is attached to the house, I'd write it up. It could, if it's older than 87, it's probably not attached to the house very well anymore. But if it's newer than that, it shouldn't have been built that way, and it's a code thing.
And one of our members just added that they believe it's changed, Sean.
It may be, because I don't know. I think it has to be, or they wouldn't be able to get away with it.
Right.
So there's that. All this extra hardware is good. If this were pre-drywall and I saw the doors upstairs and I knew the deck was going to be here, I would look at the floor system to make sure the rim board is okay and things like that for a deck installation. But all the hardware looks good to me.
Sean, this is Bob.
Yes.
A lot of the posts that I see in the corner, they are bolted to the rim board. They have that little cross piece, but it's not structurally connected, as in Wozy's, wanting a bracket in there. So they're not following best practice of attaching the posts yet. Worcester,
There.
yeah, those things. And there's also one to the right. Run along that. No, up. That's your horizontal tie-in. Go back to where you were. Follow the outside board. Keep going. Keep going. Right there.
This is over
right.
my control screen.
Yeah, right there is another one. Those aren't always attached as well as best practice according to Worcester.
Yeah, and I think those are like corner brackets or something. They're not even like you're saying. So can I?
And one person asked, Sean, there's a 2x10 that was sistered onto the joist on that right.
Hold on. Yeah. The 2x10s for the hold downs?
Yeah, is that what they were doing there? Just to explain that right there.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay.
These are bolted in.
Okay.
See how they're bolted into the board there? That looks
okay.
The staggering, the distance, that looks like an engineered design. That's probably on the plans that way.
Right.
Gas meter, the main gas shut off. When I talk about this, I always mention that this is the main gas shut off. The gas comes out of the ground here, goes in through the meter, and then piping and in through your house. So if you have to shut all the gas off to the whole entire house, you come out here with a channel lock or something and turn this. You only want to do this if it's an absolute emergency. You open the door and the whole house smells like gas. Something is very wrong. Go out here and turn this off. If it's just, you're changing out the stove or the furnace is broken, whatever, each appliance has its own shutoff. So you won't use this, but here it is if you need it in an emergency. I don't like caulking. This penetration could be improved. I mentioned that the caulking is going to deteriorate in the sun, and in a couple of years, you should get up there and just make sure it's still actually sealed. Hairline cracks will suck water into the wall. There's my inspector face. I took this picture and then I told her it didn't matter. This is an opening. Here's the garage. There's the garage door opener. This metal door is like a little closet. This is the stairway. It's under the stairs. And this opening, if this door wasn't here, this opening would be a problem because it's a breach in the firewall. It would have to be sealed. The door had springs on it, was self-closing and gasketed, so I'm not worried about that. The garage door didn't reverse. That's a federal test to bring the door down on a 2x4, and within 2 seconds of hitting the block, it's supposed to reverse automatically. I always check the door hardware, the way it's attached, all this stuff before I operate. This isn't new construction, it's not really a problem. On older houses though, you really have to check the hardware to make sure that you're not going to break the door. I've never done it and I don't want to. So
I had one break.
Yeah.
It folded up the aluminum door nicely.
Yep. That's one of those things you only do it once and then you don't test the doors anymore. But
I still test them.
Good for you, Dave. It's the biggest, heaviest moving part in the house. So that safety, the safety stuff that goes along with it is really important. This is the utility room. I like the access. It's great that they have these 2 doors to get in there. I'm pretty sure these doors should be self-closing and gasketed though, to maintain the fire separation that's required inside the utility room. Furnace reference shot.
Sean, are those they're off the garage or in the house? Because in the garage, yes, but in the house, I'm not aware of that.
It may not be, because it would be done. That would be a big red flag. If it wasn't done, you know, that would have been caught. Yeah. So I could be wrong.
That's only if the utility room's off the garage.
That's the garage right there.
Yeah, but
right.
it doesn't.
So there's in the house.
No door into the garage.
So why do all the penetrations need to be sealed? Why does this have to be a fire separation wall in the utility room?
They don't want the fire, like a chimney effect, going through cavities to another area. That's why. That's why all the penetrations up through the ceiling are sealed or through walls.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only reason for that.
Not the doors though, huh?
The doors, no.
Okay. There's another reference shot of the on-demand water heater, the piping, all the stuff in there. See the condensate line that's all messed up, ribboned. I got a better picture of it later, but these are just reference shots. The utility room, main water stuff.
Hey, Sean.
Yep, I can barely hear you. That's better.
The sprinkler check valve, is that the that red tag? Is that the data on the valve?
Probably. Other than not this picture, I have another picture of closer, just the pressure. I don't check the sprinkler system at all.
No, I don't either. All I look for is that that specific certification that the valve has to be changed at a certain predetermined date.
Yeah, there's one on the
The backflow. The backflow is supposed to be changed out every 5 years.
5 years, that's right. Sorry, Velma, you're right.
Yeah, and it's also, the tag is almost always missing.
There's one on the water, I don't have the picture, maybe we'll run into it later. There's one on the water service though, that's not it.
Yeah, you have a main feed and then one where it splits to the sprinkler system.
Interestingly enough though, this pipe coming down here is the gas line feeding the water heater. the on-demand water heater, 180,000 BTUs. It's a 1-inch line coming down, and then it's reduced here for a foot. I'm not too worried about that. This tag, oh, you can barely see that, can you? Gas main. I was sure to mention that that's not the main gas valve. That's the shutoff for the water heater. Don't think that that's going to shut the gas off to the rest of the house. That probably is. That red package there, that probably is not, Devin.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
Penetrations into the floor. Just the condensate pump. I look for the pigtails to make sure they're hooked up. There's the main water valve, just like the main gas valve. I'm like, this shuts all the water off to the house. The water comes out of the floor right here and then goes up through the meter and distribution. This shuts off your sprinklers though too, and that is not recommended. So only use this in an absolute emergency. This is the main water valve for the distribution. If you're shutting the water off to change a faucet or something, this is where you do it.
Now where all the condensate lines and everything went down into the floor drain, that's supposed to be visible. So it looks like they have a whole wad of something covering up where all those condensate lines and the TPR
Yes.
are going down into. That's
Yes.
supposed to be an air gap. You're supposed to be able to see the ends. So covering that up is wrong.
Good.
We have a question. Does anyone
Yeah.
look for painted sprinkler heads and call them out for replacement if they are painted?
I think if I was going through a house and I'd noticed that all the sprinkler heads were painted or something, I would say something. I'm very clear though that I don't inspect that sprinkler system, so I'd be hesitant to, unless it was like through the whole entire house and there was absolutely no question it was wrong, you know?
Yeah. I do call them out, or if their heads are rusty or leaking, but I put in my report that the sprinkler system's not part of my home inspection. This was observed, and to get a sprinkler company is how I handle that.
I do the same thing. If it's an obvious defect, I call it out. But no, generally I don't do any more sprinkler fire suppression system.
Yeah.
I call that out in every report that yes, there is a fire suppression system, not necessarily sprinkler, because somebody could get that confused with irrigation.
Yep.
So I make a defined statement that yes, there is a standalone, or yes, there is a combined system, like for a condo, and it is not inspected other than the obvious, like painted heads or a leaking pipe or head or something. So yeah, good point.
Here's just a reference shot of the ductwork, the baffle controls here. I'll make a note. It's one of the few things that I say in the report that is good. It's left over from JD. I don't know what happened to me. I can't change the language. It's strange. Baffle controls noted. Good. I'll explain though that the baffle controls need to be changed, just like what it says here. In the wintertime, you close the top. In the summertime, you close the bottom, open, close, and show them how to do it real quick. In these times of COVID, that is, you know, we spent 5 minutes in the house together today. I did the whole entire inspection by myself. At the end, we met up in the driveway and went over the pictures and had a conversation. And then we went inside for 5 minutes. She wanted to see the shutoffs, change the filter on the furnace. We talked about the baffle controls and the few defects that I found, but it was very quick. And I wonder how good that is for the clients, you know. They're not getting a lot out of that. It's a lot of information they got to digest very quickly. This is the picture that I say, here's your sprinkler system. It wasn't evaluated. A couple penetrations in the utility room. There's a gas line there. I think there's some wires later. That's the condensate tube. It's totally crushed. I think it's a little bit melted. I'm not sure what's going on. It's not going to work well. The condensate pump discharge tube, right, for the air conditioner. Interestingly enough, it had a condensate pump for the air conditioner, and the furnace high efficiency went into that floor drain.
Yes, that's typical for condensation in extreme temperatures.
Nice. Data for the on-demand water heater. There was a question about an on-demand water heater I saw online. It wasn't atmospherically disconnected, meaning it drew makeup air from the closet or basement or wherever it was. And I don't know off the top of my head, Velmet probably does, the calculation about BTUs versus open space to draw air from. And I think I did the calculation, and it was something like you needed a 4,000 square foot basement or something to be able to draw enough air for 180,000 BTUs. So pretty much they all have to be disconnected. They all should draw air from outside.
Yeah, I mean, now it's not always drawing 180,000 BTU. That's just the maximum that it's ever draw. So, but yeah, usually they need to have the outside combustion air. They need to be direct vent, not just direct exhaust.
Yeah, but that design is for the 180,000. Like the fact that it can draw that much means you need that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You need a 16 by 16 by 8 foot room for every 100,000 BTUs.
Right.
So you need a 32 by 16 by 8 foot room for 180,000.
Please tell me you're reading that, Bob, because if you're doing that from memory, I am just blown away.
That's one of the ones I remember.
Oh my gosh. Holy smoke. Hats off to you, sir.
Filter. I drew that little stuff down here. I mentioned that the furnaces are allowed to be run during construction, but there are a bunch of rules about sealing off the ductwork so that dust and stuff doesn't get into the system. And I draw on it and say it's most likely a warranty issue if the manufacturer ever came out because you had a problem and they saw this in there, they could deny the warranty claim because of the poor installation or using it during construction activities without protection. That's
true.
Go ahead.
That's true. Yeah. It'll affect the warranty, and 9.9 out of every new construction home that I inspect has that same issue.
Yep. And
I tend not to write a squiggle in there. I tend to either write the date or put my initials in there, so it's proof that not just some rando did it, but this is this is mine. But the thing is that dust gets everywhere and it bakes onto the squirrel cage and it fouls up the inside coil. So it ruins the system.
It'll get into the bearings on the fan. Yeah, it's a problem for sure. This is the builder filter. They had the other filter up on top of the ductwork. I told her to replace it. Data, low voltage wiring, I don't inspect it. The lack of fall protection. Yeah.
There's a question I just saw on the chat that what do you recommend for response to dirty AC systems, the ductwork, either supply or return? My quick answer is I just say it's dirty. I take a picture of the fan, squirrel cage, as Velmet said, and take a picture of it and say, look, the system's dirty. This can affect the warranty. Hire a qualified contractor to clean the ductwork.
Yeah, I think our comment is recommend
professional duct cleaning,
professional cleaning, or professional commercial cleaning, or something like that. We recommend cleaning, and we mentioned the warranty issue.
Yeah, but the thing is, the flex duct, insulated flex duct, typically can't be cleaned.
Exactly. That's why we mentioned the warranty issue. This can be wiped out right here. Interestingly, inside the cabinet, which is right here, that's the door. it was spotless. I was like, oh, they wiped it out. Interesting. Well, it's a mess.
That's where the
So,
ferret comes in handy.
yeah, for sure. To get in, yeah, I couldn't get in to see the fan.
And
So I
not to and to add to that is that all the grills that are on the main floor, the upper floors, if they're not moving air, it's because of that Taco Bell box that's jammed down in there back in that flex duct.
That's right. The lack of fall protection on the windows, I think the builder is going to come and put these in. That might be a punch out thing. It's not there now though. Again, sealant, there's a better way to do that. Reference shot of the kitchen.
Hey, can we hold up? We had a couple questions and comments. Ductwork. One member wrote, consumer checkbook advises against professional duct cleaning in most instances, just for people to know. And then one person wrote, how do you build without heat? And I can tell you in Florida, they bring in separate cooling units so they don't mess up the cooling system of the house. And they have a unit sitting outside in the yard, ducting it all into the house. They could do that the same thing here with heat if they chose to. They don't.
Oh yeah, they put temporary propane heaters, these ventless boxes that they put. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for drywall work.
Yeah, for drywall.
There's the manufacturers will allow it if you isolate the return ductwork. You can run the furnace during construction. I've read because somebody said I was wrong about it sometime, so I dove into some installation instructions, and they do allow it. But regardless, you can't get that drywall dust into the fan and into the bearings. It's warranty issue, fact. So
also, it's if almost all of the manufacturer's installation instructions have a paragraph that says this shall not be used as a construction heater unless you do the list you talk about. I actually have a sheet that has, don't do this on the front along with an ugly picture. And then on the back is the paragraph from Carrier, Train, Goodman, and 2 or 3 others that say, thou shalt not do this. So I can say, the builder didn't follow the manufacturer's instructions.
Right.
Because, their idea of cleaning is the punch out guy with a wet rag wiping out the fan compartment.
Yep. The fall protection is these windows above, Velmut, help me out, 12 feet, something like that. Second floor and up, windows shouldn't be able to be open more than 4 inches without something stopping you. That's the fall protection I'm talking about.
Because I see it all the time. Windows without the fall. I think it's if the sill height is a certain height.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because it is, if the sill is less than 18 inches above the floor, then
it's something common. It's I don't remember what it is. I'm not gonna try.
have to look at it. I know I've got a diagram somewhere, but but yeah,
there's a minimum height for the sill.
Yeah, it's if it's a certain distance above the ground and the sill is a certain distance above the floor, then you need to have fall protection. And you also need to have tempered glass if the sheet glass is more than 9 square feet.
Right, and that would be one. Where's my thing? One pane, right?
Mm-hmm. That's 1 pane, right?
Not this whole entire, big window.
Every sash, complete sash, not a true divided glass, but if it were a the fake grill.
And that's for kids falling out the windows. Little kids open windows. My kid does it upstairs, and my house is built in 1900, so I don't got no fall protection. I got a porch roof though. I'm waiting to find her on the porch roof. Some stains on the carpet. I don't mention that unless it's new construction. If it's a house that's been lived in and it's stained carpet, I'm like, yep, somebody lived here. I don't like that I can't change the picture without this thing. Anyway, penetration in the ceiling of the utility room again. I don't usually run into this or mention it, but there weren't very many things going on. Caulking on the toilet to keep the water out. I was under the impression that's a code requirement, and it doesn't really matter, but it's code requirement. So when you don't see it, you know something's up. There was a WSSC sticker on the panel, so it passed. But
It's not a toilet issue most of the time. It's a shower stall issue.
Right.
In that
It's
when
water.
somebody gets out of the bathtub or shower and shakes off like a puppy, all of that extra water on the floor looks for the
Right.
largest opening to go downstairs.
Right. It's water getting under the bathtub, under the toilet that you want to prevent. It's not like leaking under there or something from the toilet itself.
It also helps it from getting loose. You know, if
Yeah.
you glue it down to the floor, it tends not to work loose.
I was told it's a non-fouling area, and so in other words, it's caulk, so things
Yeah.
can't get underneath there that you can't clean as well.
And that's a good point, Greg. Leaving the toilet, let it breathe, so that if any water gets under there, it can evaporate, you know. This was a legitimate issue. This is one of the two shower handles in the master. It wasn't caulked, and full on only got to like 82 degrees. So there's a problem with the mixer in here or something that needs to be addressed. The hall bathroom door didn't latch. The cabinet above the microwave didn't open by design, I believe. I don't evaluate ice makers. There's the energy efficiency certificate. I just mentioned that it's there and it's required. There's the panel, main breaker. The purple breakers are GFI AFCI combo breakers, and the white ones are just AFCI combo breakers. I recommend once a month to go and push all the buttons, make sure they trip. If they don't, the breaker's defective and needs to be replaced. I explain what GFCIs are and what AFCIs are. Inside the panel look pretty good. Anybody see anything before I spotlight it? Unlabeled hot wire.
Oh, it's
No.
not marked as a current carrying
No.
conductor.
Yep.
One of the
There's
things I
a-
did notice at the outside, though, was that there was a pretty obvious gap around the main breaker, that the box looks like it's recessed in the wall. There, yeah.
No, I think that's the cover just opening being a little weird in my angle that I took the picture.
Okay. So there, yeah, because I always call out if the box itself is recessed into the wall.
It's not that bad.
Okay. I think with drywall in a garage, I think you're allowed up to 1/4 inch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't think that was more than 1/4 inch there.
Yeah, that one's okay.
So that inner panel,
Panel is on a spring, and it looks like the breaker is not lined up properly with that inner spring-loaded panel. That's what I see.
Could be, yeah. I didn't think it was a big deal. But the panel, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, when I put the cover back on, I had to pull some of these breakers to get the cover to go back on. It's not super uncommon, but something was a little fishy with lining it up.
On the old Square D, before they started putting on the yellow protectors, that gap would be medium scary because you'd be looking at the lugs.
Hey, Hollis, do you want to go? Is Hollis still on here? You want to go start that meeting? I'm getting text messages about it not working. Yeah.
Sean, how long does it take you to do like this house without a client, really, to do this?
This one took me 2.5 hours of looking, and then probably 45 minutes of talking to the client.
Okay.
And then freaking Beltway was closed. So I left there around 4:30 and got here at like 5:45 or almost 6. I had to jump in the shower and come to this meeting. My dinner is sitting here looking at me. Reverse polarity outlet in one of the bedrooms. I don't find a lot of those in new construction. I was
Yeah,
like,
good
what?
check.
Look at that. So, and then I don't know about this. What do you guys think? They're filling the trenches out here. All they're doing is dumping in some gravel and then dumping in a bunch of dirt and then, you know, smoothing it over or whatever. There's no tamping device. There's no compaction. There's no anything like that. Is it important in a trench like that? Or is it only for like back here where, you know, the slab's going to be, that kind of stuff? What do you guys think?
What's that a trench for?
Main water,
Service, right? Yeah.
or plumbing drains.
Okay, so that's going to be water and sewer.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody that does it. How about, can we hear from Nick? He's
Yeah.
our new construction builder, if they do that on their jobs.
Right, Greg, I agree. If it's under the slab, it should be compacted. That's why I took this picture. I was like, this isn't your house, but if this is the work that's going on in this development and they're doing them all the same, then this is your house, you know?
That's why there will be settlement and a medium divot in the front yard in about 18 months.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's no yard. This is going to be a driveway. Here, where's my thing? The driveway is going to be right here. This is going to be the garage, and that's going to be the slab in the back there. That's the utility room where the main water and the drains go into the floor. So,
Will be a divot in the driveway.
All built by the lowest bidder.
yep, good old Brian. No, I mentioned, and water's going to find its way under there. The house, you know, was built below the road. On the other side of the house, the front door, I guess, because we're looking at the alley, was 3 feet under the finished road in the back. So water's going to find its way down there. It's going to get under the house. It's going to find its way into this trench, and you're going to have a trench under your slab, under your driveway, all that stuff. Yep. Attic. They did not mention anything about the bats. It was cellulose, right? But there's a covering of cellulose and some bats in there. I said this was disturbed insulation and it should be redistributed. These gaps here, say there's 5 gaps like this in the whole attic, that'll take like R5 off of the R rating. Little gaps like this have a big impact on the R value of the insulation system. So I call those out when I see them, especially, you know, new construction. If it's old, there's 2 inches of insulation and you're lucky.
In a lot of the final walkthroughs that I do through, I can tell exactly where the guy who was blowing the insulation stood because I can see the shadows on the trusses and the ductwork and everything. So unless he walked around, you can normally tell where he stood.
Yeah. I could only access this from the hatch, so this is what I saw. Not a lot. FRT is there. There's some interesting framing on these trusses and different designs, right? That truss is different. Oh, you can't see anything. Interesting framing right here, just on top. This truss is different than this truss, right? And there wasn't really anything visible. There were some the ductwork plenums or whatever those things are called, the little boxes, the fiberglass boxes up in the attic. They were in that truss bay where the different trusses are. So I was like, well, maybe that's what it is. All of this stuff, though, is engineered design, yada, yada. It's very rare that you'll come across something like this in new construction and be like, whoa, they used the wrong trusses. It is Ryan, and they're building a ton of these, so I'm not saying it can't happen, but I don't know. Does anybody have any thing to say about that. This bracing was added to each one of these trusses. Very interesting. And that was the whole inspection.
Yeah, I would just, this is Fred, and Fred Freer, and I would just offer one comment. Comment about braces added to a truss. The truss is an engineered component, and modifying it with any kind of braces violates whatever warranty would have been an engineering specification that would have accompanied it. So I would certainly call that out.
A lot of the, Fred, a lot of those piggyback boards are on the plans. Sometimes the plans are there, and they're meant to increase the strength of the truss so it doesn't bow. Because that one that Sean was looking at was a very long truss, and the cross member keeps it from bending.
Okay, yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's what often it's on the drawings if you can look at them.
But when you can't see them, then I would be inclined to call it out as a modification of an engineered component.
Yeah, that's simple enough. And I think that would, be better than not saying anything. Just say that, modifications were noted. Not that it's good or bad or anything, but
I agree.
Yeah.